What's up, guys? It's your man Donovan Sharpe. I just realized, literally just realized that entire intro was completely muted because my dumbass muted myself. I'm trying to be, man. Look, I'm trying to be all professional. I'm trying to do a professional show.
And what were we just talking about off air?
Oh my God, yeah. Listen, Rollo and I were just talking. Hey, we got to step up our studio game and be more professional. And it's interesting. Before we get into this, a lot of guys, and don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that you guys don't know or that you guys don't appreciate this, but I love doing what I do, but there's a lot that goes on behind the scenes, man. Like, you guys see me running my mouth, taking phone calls, but there is a lot that happens behind the scenes. There are a lot of moving parts to what you see on TSR Live, and it's taken me quite some time to sort of get the hang of it. And even now, the production takes a long time to accomplish. Number one, number two, even still, I'll still make mistakes like, hey, I got this big fancy intro and muted myself, and I'm like, okay, why is Rollo on the screen? I figured it out. What's going on, guys? It's your man Donovan Sharpe. Welcome to episode 374 of TSR Live, your daily dose of red pill truth, wisdom, and awareness. We are brought to you in part by Happy Hippo Herbals and, of course, 1821manmade.com. For the best beard products in the game, go to 1821manmade.com to step up your beard game. All right, let's go ahead and get to it, man. My guest tonight doesn't need an introduction. He is the godfather of the Manosphere. He is Rollo Tomassi. Rollo, listen, man, thanks for making the time for us today. We have an interesting topic to get into.
I figured you would.
yeah, you know how that goes. Yeah, so what we're going to talk about today, Rollo, is we're going to talk about red pill groupies. Now, anytime there's a male-dominated space, females want in, right? This is standard operating procedure. This is nothing new. We get it. We understand females want to be a part of. They want to be a part of cool things that are going on. And since men are doing most of the cool shit, they end up becoming a part. They end up trying to become a part of what's going on here. Well, we now have an influx of females into the Manosphere. We got a lot of females who call themselves red pill women. And then, of course, we have, these MAGA chicks, these trad cons. All of a sudden, now that they see that the men who have their shit together endorse what we endorse, now they want to say, all right, we're red pill women, make America great again. I don't even know if we're considered to be alt-right, but you get the idea. Of course, I lead this off by saying that women try to get in with us. They want to be a part of who we are, but at least in the Red Man group, we're not having it. I'm definitely not having it. I know red pill guys, or I know content creators who regularly have women on their show. I'm not a part of it. I'm not going to make an appearance with a woman because that's just not something I'm going to do. Oh my God, Donovan, you're afraid? No, dude, I don't want to have to take Advil throughout the show. Anyway, so my crowning, where all this started was when Kitten Holiday called into the Red Man group in episode 17. And I didn't expect her to call in. And listen, I let her run her mouth. And then, she asked if she could say one more thing. I said, no, you got to go. I hung up on her. And then, of course, she started this whole beef with the Red Man group. What she wanted to do, Rollo, is she wanted to call in and she wanted to impress us, right? She wanted to impress us so much that she wanted to eventually become a regular caller. Like, hey, here's Kitten Holiday. She's going to give her thoughts on whatever we're talking about. Hey, Kitten, why don't you become a VIP? Why don't you be a VIP guest at the 21 convention? Now, Kitten would deny that this is what she was trying to do, but this is what her and other women like her try to do. Why in the world? Now, here's the thing. Kitten Holiday's not a red pill woman. She's a red pill groupie, right? So why do women try to give the impression that they're red pill women, but all they are really is just hangers? They're just groupies. They're just looking to bang red pill guys.
I think maybe we need to make a distinction between groupie and quote unquote red pill woman. I don't necessarily believe that there is such a thing as a red pill woman, simply because once you start discussing red pill topics and truths, and especially particularly the ones that are a bit more unflattering of the feminine, once you start discussing that, you're having a different conversation than for, say, someone or like a woman who is like there because they think that by agreeing with you or by being your fan or whatever, they think that that's going to get them into your good graces. And I think that really what we're seeing right now is the Manosphere has become a male space. I mean, yes. Obviously it's a male space. I have always, from the very beginning, I I started my blog based on a lot of the same rules that I used to go by when I was a moderator on the SoSwap forums.
Okay.
I never talked about religion. I never talked about politics. I never talked about directly. Okay. Never talked about, we try to abstain, I guess, from like personal insults, although that doesn't really work out all the time.
Of course not.
And everything else. But again, trying to bring that across. One of the other things is that I brought over from SoSwap was the idea that I'm not against having women actually comment on my blogs. I have always had an unmoderated blog comment system. Unless you spam my comment threads or you are a blatant troll who just keeps repeating things over and over again, I'm pretty much okay with that. In fact, I really want people to call in I want people to chime in and disagree with me, because that's how we grow ideas. And we have this commitment, I think, now in what is now known as the Manosphere, as sort of hashing out ideas. And sometimes those ideas are flattering and sometimes those ideas are not. Sometimes when if people call in and say, you know what, your premises or your, whatever you're talking about when it comes to hypergamy, you're wrong. Okay, fine. Tell me why I'm wrong. Explain to me why I'm wrong. I think that when men come together and they start talking about stuff like that, we're more, if we're arguing and debating in an honest way, we're more concerned with coming to terms with what that idea is, and sort of hashing that out. Whereas for women, it's how did that idea make them feel? Right. And one of the first complaints that I get when I'm talking about things and when a woman comes into the mix is, well, I didn't like the way you delivered that. You're right, but not what you said, it's how you said it. Yeah, exactly. It's like, we didn't like your tone. And I was like, well, this isn't your show. This isn't your, where you're going to be. And so when we bring in women, you have to understand that the conversation changes. I just posted it here in the chat. I have a great post. It was actually, I think it was also in my second book. It's called Male Space. And in that post, I tried to sort of define how women come into male space and how they change that male space. Right now, since we live in a feminine primary social order, women want two things out of male space. People say, well, why would any woman want to come into a male space? And
what do we want from you?
Why would they want? Yeah, exactly. What do we want from you? If you're wrong, we're not going to bother with it. Well, I see a lot of women wanting into the Manosphere right now. And this is true, not just for the Manosphere, but for any quote unquote male space, right? So the first thing is that women want to be the first woman to be included in that male space.
Ah, there we go.
If you take something like, you know who Danica Patrick is, right? Yes. So if Danica Patrick wants to race cars, right? She's in NASCAR too, right? She's in NASCAR. I forget whatever. I don't even know what she's racing in. And it doesn't really matter because nobody cares about what it is that she does. They care about that she's the first woman to do that. And so she comes in and she's like, okay, well, NASCAR is all male space and I can drive too. Look, guys, I'm one of the guys. Hey, a woman can do it just as good as a man can, right?
Oh, God, she was terrible.
There's that. But see, that's the point. That's the purpose of her coming into that, is to prove that she is as good as any of the other guys, right. Which of course is completely false. She just happens to be the first woman who is in there. So it's not her trying to prove how good she is or her dedication or her passion for driving or her passion for whatever it is that she's including herself into. It is that she wants to be the first woman that's in there. So that's number one. So the number two part is women or overseers in the locker room. So once women have been allowed into that male space, women take it upon themselves to now become the overseers of that male space. So once a woman is welcomed into that, that it doesn't matter really what it is. Like you can say it's guys who are in the gaming community. You can say it's guys who are in a sports team. You can say it's guys, whatever that male space happens to be. Once they allow that woman in there, women then decide that it's no longer about whatever the express purpose of that group is. It's about how well they accommodate women in that group now. So it becomes less about whatever. This is really easy to describe in terms of like, say, the American workplace or Western workplaces right now. We have accommodated women into the Western workplace because we feel like it's the right thing to do. Okay, well, we can talk about that in a whole nother show, but but once they come in there, then whatever it is that those men collected together to do, to have an express purpose to do it, that woman comes in and decides that now that she's the first woman to do it, now it should be not about whatever they came together to do, whatever they came together to produce, whatever they came together to, that they all have a passion about. It's about who can be the most inclusive of women in that group now. So that's why you see when a woman is added to that all male mix, the performance of whatever it is those guys came together to do declines, because they're trying now to appease whatever the female sensibilities are within that particular group.
And trying to fuck her.
Well, and that too, then you have, well, let's think this, then you have guys who want to outshine the other by being the most pro-feminine, pro-inclusive guy that they possibly can be. And they start policing the thoughts of the other guys that are within that group. Okay? So if you, let's just say, for instance, you've got guys who have this all male group, and like I've said this before, is that women talk and men do.
Right.
When men do, they come together to do something together, right? They come together to fix a car, to plan out a field, to build a house, to do something that's constructive, and to do something that builds something in their environment that is, so they see the opportunity within the environment to build something on that. So they come together as a team and they put it together, right? So that's one of the reasons why male sports, team sports, tend to be male dominated, because we come together and we work together as a team and we want to build something, and we all share that common passion.
That's what we do best.
That's why, like I'm sure you have hobbies as well. I have hobbies. And when I get together with guys, we're usually focusing on that hobby. And then as a result of that, we might communicate, or we might become very good friends. It's one of the reasons, like, I can make friends with men very, very easy, because I have something that I share with them. But what happens is, once you add a woman into that mix, into that male space, then, just like you said, guys want to be the guy that is most inclusive, the guy who wants to prove to her in a white knight and to bring her into the fold, not because she shares that common passion so much as it is that the guy wants to prove to the world that whatever it is that they do, whatever that organization used to do, is now the organization that does that, but we're more inclusive. We have more, we have women here, right? And what happens is that dynamic sort of decays. So you'll have that group kind of split up because of that inclusivity, or because we brought a woman into that mix. The guys who have that really solid passion about whatever it is they came together to do, those guys end up leaving the group and they go off to do their own thing. Whereas the guys who have welcomed women into that group and have brought them in there and decided that the group's purpose shouldn't be about whatever it was that they originally started to do. It should be about including women in whatever that purpose used to be about. And so that ends up becoming their goal, or their focus on that. Whereas the guys who are just together and they're just about that one passionate purpose, those guys will usually end up and outperform that other set of guys that they were with before.
I'm getting a lot of comments in the chat. I'm like, at least 2 or 3 guys have said this kind of thing happens in the military all the time.
Another perfect example of that.
Right.
I've had, and sports teams is another thing. One of the reasons, here's a great example as well. The Boy Scouts.
Yes. Right. Yeah. Sharpe has just said this.
Yeah. It used to be just about the boys. And now what I find interesting is, like, in trying to be inclusive, now the Girl Scouts are actually suing the Boy Scouts because they're kind of infringing on their copyright now. Or
what? Are you serious?
Yes, because they don't. And they have the Boy Scouts and the Girl Scouts. And once the Boy Scouts said, hey, we're going to be inclusive and we're going to get more girls into this whole thing, they dropped the name boy, remove the man. And they drop the name and they just call it the Scouts. Well, there are girls in the Scouts. So that is a trademark copyright infringement of the Girl Scouts registered trademark that's been around for, since the 50s. Right. So what's funny is, with all of these same intentions, exactly what I was just saying right now, with all those good intentions of being inclusive, now by doing that, they are risking the coherency and of their group, And they're going to end up having to find, either they're going to have to call it the Boy Scouts or they're going to have to call it something else. It can't be the Scouts because it will conflict with the Girl Scouts. And so in their trying to be inclusive, they end up slitting their own wrists. They end up hating themselves because they wanted to do that, rather than saying, you know what, it's okay that we have all male groups. It's okay that we have all of that. And I think it was just recently, I think it was this year actually, Harvard decided that they were going to ban all same-sex groups or organizations, like extracurricular organizations, on the campus. Well, what happened was the feminist groups just flew off the handle and decided that, you know, we need to have these groups. We need to have all female groups, but we don't want those men to have their groups, right? It breaks up the continuity of the group. I talked about this in my my speech at the 21 convention, how the way that feminism and the feminine imperative disempowers men is by infiltrating that group, assimilating that group, and making it not about men coming together and doing something, but about making it as inclusive as possible for those women. That's how they break that up. That's how they.
Why do they do this though? Like, why is it that women want to break it up? I mean, I have my hypothesis, but why do you think?
Okay. Honestly, I think it's because of the first part. Okay. When women first get into that, they want to be like, remember when Augusta decided that they were going to allow women into Augusta because it was an all male golf club and only Tiger Woods could be in there. And what did they do? They went and they said, Condoleezza Rice, we'd like you to be a member of Augusta.
Right.
Remember that? You know, she don't even play golf, you know?
Jesus Christ, right. How long has it been since she's been on a golf course?
But it was a symbolic thing to say, hey, look, you know, to prove to the world that they were actually, you know, giving away this or giving up on this old boys club thing. But the thing is women don't give up on the girls club. Right. Men are supposed to give up on the boys club, but women are not supposed to give up on their own exclusive women's thing. That's why we have like these women in business groups right now. They say, well, we're going to get a women in business convention going on, and we're going to all talk about how women can, you know, make a better cupcake or some shit like that, right? They want to focus on helping and empowering women to be small business owners. Great, okay, but they do nothing like that. There's no, if it was about equality, like I said, we would call it equalism rather than feminism. And that's so we have all this special dispensation for women when it comes to keeping their own group and keeping a sexually exclusive group. But when men do that, it's sexist. And when men do that, it's dangerous. And it's evidence of toxic masculinity. So what I see, I think in the long term, I think in the larger meta scale of things, the reason that women want to break up that continuity between men is because it makes men weaker. And that's one of the reasons why something that like the 21 convention is so threatening to the female status quo, to the the gynocracy, if you want to call it that.
Right.
It's threatening when guys get together just as guys to talk about things, because they understand that men coming together and cooperating together are way more powerful than when they are broken up and when they are split up. So that's issue number one. The other issue is, okay, so if we can define the manosphere as male space, then why is it that we have women that want to come into the male space right now? So why do you think I've got an idea of why that is? Well, why do you think that the manosphere is so popular amongst you want to call them groupies? Okay, call them groupies. I think really more it's, you know, red pill women aren't necessarily always trad cons, but they tend to lean that way.
Of course. Yeah. The reason why I think that there are two reasons why women like to infiltrate male spaces. The first reason, I think, is the groupie reason, right? And I was actually having a conversation with a consultation client the other day, and he said the one thing, Donovan, that you said that really just blew me away is when you were talking about, when you, Rollo, were talking about religion and your fourth book. And he said the one thing that you said that just blew me away that was absolutely true is that women don't have a belief system. They don't believe in God. They don't believe that there is no God. They believe in whatever the strongest men believe, right? And so the strongest men nowadays are obviously have red pill awareness, and we're not afraid to express our red pill-ness, our red pill awareness. Well, Sean in Tampa, the guitar player, he actually talked to us on the Red Band group. He said this on my show several times because, you know, he was there with we were talking about Kitten and Jose and our little dust up with him and her. And he says, listen, dude, to keep it all the way real, he says women just like to be, women want to be around guys who have their shit together, right? And by, when they say they want to be around guys who have their shit together, they want to fuck these guys. You know what I mean? Like, dude, like, listen, man, like, listen, I've had groupies since the Return of King's days. You know what I mean? They're Democrats, they're feminists. It doesn't matter what their belief system is. They see that I am unabashedly, they see that I'm unabashedly unapologetic about what I believe in. And I don't give a fuck about anybody's feelings. Women like to be around that. That's the first reason. The second reason I believe that women like to infiltrate and subsequently break up the groups is that they know we're onto something, right? Like the red pill community wouldn't be under such scrutiny if we didn't know what the fuck we were talking about, right? If the red pill community says we need to double down on feminism, you need to take her out on dates. Treat her like a princess, even though she hasn't earned that. Forgive her of her sexual past. We need to double down. Guess what? These bitches wouldn't have a problem with that, right? They wouldn't have a problem with that because they know, okay, well, all right, these guys aren't a threat, right? Like some other guys. But they know that the things we talk about, Rollo, dude, they listen to the Red Man Group. They listen to TSR Live. Deep in their minds, they'll never admit this out loud, but they say, shit, these guys are onto something. Like the jig is up. Like we can't have these guys out here spilling all of our secrets. We've had the gender advantage, we've had the ratio advantages, and we've had the mental advantage. The average 17-year-old girl is at least a decade and a half ahead in the game than the average 17-year-old boy, right? You take the average 15-year-old girl, right? Average 15-year-old boy, dude, she's miles ahead in the game. Women keep this advantage throughout life. We're the guys that point out, hey, you want to know something? This is not really how it works. These women know that we're onto something. That's the second reason why they want to shut us down.
I agree with that. I would also throw out a few other caveats to go with that. The other thing, like when I was just talking about how women need to be or feel like they need to be the overseers in the locker room, I think what you have is you have women who want to be in the manosphere because they see it as a niche sexual marketplace. They see these guys who quote unquote have their shit together and they want to do okay. But then once they get into it, once they hear me, once they read me and they go, this guy is right, but I don't like what some of this stuff is unflattering. So if I can just if I can sort of work my way into
right in there,
if I can work my way into this male space, I can change the narrative of this space. So it's like they want to get in and they want to say, hey guys, what you're doing is great. We want you to man up. They all want a better beta. Okay. They all want you to the quote unquote man up because they love the aspects, particularly the red pill, where it's all about self-improvement and it's all about becoming a better man. And then what they see is MGTOWs will hit me on this, but what women see is they think that men are doing this for women. They think that these guys are self-improving because they want to get better with women or they want to, and maybe that's true in a lot of guys.
The beginning. It's true in the beginning.
Yeah. And then you move into other things. That's the problem is like once you become more and more red pill aware, you become more sensitive to being able to vet women and to decide whether or not you want to be part of, you want to be part of a woman's sexual strategy. Do I really want to fulfill a role within like hypergamy for a particular woman, right? So when they see that and they go, oh shit, they're giving away the farm. They're giving away all of this information. Like I had a guy who, and I think I've told you this story before. I had a guy who was one of my readers and his girlfriend snatched up my book and grabbed it. And she says, give me that when for rational male, And so she takes this and she goes, I'll be the judge of that, And so she goes and she reads it for a week and she comes back to the guy and she takes it and she tosses it down on the desk and she goes, everything in this book is true. And you shouldn't know any of it.
Wow.
Wow. It was, and that kind of describes really what I think that red pill women have to go through because they want men to know some of it.
Sure, but not all of it. Listen, they want men to know just enough to keep that advantage over us, right?
Yeah,
but as soon, listen, it's knowledge is power. As soon as men now, listen, there are a lot of men who are red pill aware. Being red pill aware is not enough. You gotta live that red pill life. But even if you have the knowledge and you actually have the balls to exercise that red pill awareness, guess what? Advantage gone.
Well, and the other thing is, yeah, exactly. And then the other thing is, I think that once guys become red pill aware, I always tell them to be very, very careful about making their girlfriends or their wives or the women that they would like to, would like to sarge. I tell them, be very careful about revealing what you know about the red pill, because women want to play the game. They don't want to have somebody tell them about the game that they're playing, right? And it's true. It's called the observer effect. There's a Hawthorne effect, right? Observing a process will change that process. So if you start popping off, I know exactly what you're doing right now. That's a shit test, and here, Rollo said it on 74 of the rational, going through all this stuff. And guys want to do that because they think, I gotcha. They
do this in the beginning.
Yeah, they want to do that, and they think that, well, women will appreciate that, right? They'll, red pill women. Oh yeah, you got me, but they don't understand that by doing that, they ruin their game and they ruin everything, because now everything becomes about the game itself. I always tell guys, play with her and play with her. You understand what I'm saying?
Right. Oh yes.
Play with her and play with her. And guys, people don't get that when I emphasize those words, but guys need to, if you think you're dealing with a red pill woman, do not reveal the game to her. Don't, there's a lot of rules that I have in the 9 iron rules of Tomassi. One of those I think really should be is, do not reveal what you know about the red pill to any woman, particularly if you want to be intimate with that woman at some point, because she's going to think about it being as part of the game. Like, observing a process changes the process. So if you're making it obvious to her, that's what's going to happen. I was going to say though, so once you have the manosphere established, and once you have that as a male space, women want to get into that because they want to change the narrative. They want it to be more about them. They want guys to have 100% responsibility and 0% authority.
Right.
And when they see red pill awareness making men feel as if they have some authority or they have some power over women's hypergamy, or over their sexual strategy, or over the game that they can say, you know what, I'm not going to be a beta in waiting. I'm going to do what I'm going to do. Maybe I'm going to go my own way, right? I'm still going to I think really most guys can't help but go their own way once they become red pill aware. How you go about doing that is really the question. But so women see this happening and they go, you know what, these guys might select me out. They might go, you know what, that chick that girl with a baby daddy and 2 kids, I don't want to have anything to do with that. I mean, Rich Cooper and I talk about this all the time, where it's like, stay away from single mommies. Well, for a red pill single mommy, she can't have guys listening to that. She can't have, women or men avoiding single mothers. In fact, so what happens is, then they come into the narrative, they change that around, and they say, no, really, the red pill is about marrying single mothers, and it's about, stepping up and taking over the responsibilities for a guy who didn't step up, and they want to build all of those old social conventions into the red pill, and then they want to decide what is red pill and what is not red pill. And that's why I lock horns with people like Kitten. That's why I lock horns with Dr. Babe Love. Okay.
Right. Listen, who the hell is Dr. Babe Love? Like, I just saw her name in the chat. They said she's totally great. I have no idea who the fuck this bitch is.
I'll send you some. I'll give you some. Okay. Later.
Like the screen name already reeks of Groupie.
She wanted, yeah, exactly. She wanted, and you're right. She wanted to come into the red pill space, and she wanted to say, yeah, okay, you guys are all right, except for this, and this. And let me tell you, if you accepted all of this, then you would be red pill, right? And everything, and every article is some sort of blue pill conditioning that we had to awaken guys from in the first place. And then you've got purple pill life coaches saying exactly the same thing, because they know that all of those comforting ideals of the blue pill that women want guys to accept are part of, it keeps men sort of chasing their tails, right? They think that they're red pill, but they're not really red pill. And so women will pile into that. So that's one part. The other part is, I think that women see this as a niche sexual marketplace.
Yes.
I don't see too many, maybe you can correct me on this, but I don't see too many younger women who insist on being that there are red pill women. I don't see too many of them. Most of them tend to be single mommies. They tend to be divorcees.
Yep.
And a little bit older. Okay. Like, well, I'm talking, past their prime, past the wall. I don't see too many hot 22-year-olds or 23-year-olds going, I'm a red pill woman. They don't say that. It's usually women who are trying to figure out how they can get into the good graces of men who they idealize as being a good long-term prospect.
Boom.
And they see red pill men as being that, because part of that red pill awakening is self-improvement. It's about being a better guy. It's about being the best version of yourself you can be, right? But that's where they want it to end. They don't want the red pill to include all of the unflattering things that
the truths about them.
Yeah, exactly. And so they want to cut it off right there. And that's how red pill women end up becoming really purple pill women, because they want to redefine that. And unfortunately, there are guys who will get into this and they'll go, oh, well, you know, I want to get into the good graces of these chicks. I haven't gotten laid, or or maybe they're like in their 40s and they're become awakened and they are coming out of a bad divorce and they want to get after it with you know, a used up chick. They want to get after it with a single mommy, and they want to feel okay. They want us to give them permission to date a single mother. You're never going to get permission from me to date a single mother. I'm sorry.
Fuck that, dude. Listen, you'll get permission from me to bang a single mom, but dating them, no. Let me point out a concept. I've been in the sales game for a while, and area code 571, I see in the queue. I'm going to get to you in just a second. The women want to, they want you to play with them. They want to play with you. That concept you were talking about in the sales game, in training class, they always tell you every customer wants to buy, but no customer wants to be sold. In other words, when they make a decision to make a big ticket purchase, like I've sold cars, I've sold mattresses, I've sold $50,000, you know, housing project jobs, et cetera, they don't want to be sold. They want the impression that they made the decision based on what they thought. No slimy salesperson is ever going to talk me in to paying $10,000 for a mattress or $35,000 for a roof. No, sir, I'm making this decision on my accord. Well, it's the same thing with women. With women trying to cut out the good parts, trying to cut out the parts that are unflattering. They don't want to know how the sausage is made, right? They don't want to know, like, the old school mystery method, right? The RSD method. Hey, you know, I mean that whole PUA. Listen, that certainly has its agencies now, but like I always say, girls have the internet too, right? They know, dude, they can smell the Neil Strauss off of you. They can smell the Tyler Durden on you, right? Like they can smell that. So you have to become congruent with what you're saying. This is how you have the organic presentation of what's going on. If a girl thinks at any time that what you are doing is canned or rehearsed, she thinks she's being manipulated rather than just an organic something happening, right? So if a girl says, oh God, you fucked Donovan, yeah, oh my God, he swept me off my feet. It was like we were having coffee. Next thing you know, I was in his apartment. It was just, there was nothing I could do. But they're not gonna go to their girlfriends and say, you know what, this guy used this Neil Strauss method on me. I knew what he was doing, but I said fuck it. Again, he's doing a good job. I may as well fuck him. That's why they don't want us to do this.
Hawthorne effect. Observing the process will change that process. When it's a thing about, like, when you're in psychology, one of the reasons they do blind tests in psychological experiments is because once that person knows that they're, you know, the basis.
Or listen to the rest of this episode, go to donovansharpe.com. Thanks for watching.